Am I connected?
Yes.
Ah.
Good work, Dan.
Well, thank you. I'll be here.
Val, I see you're speaking, but you seem to be on mute, so I can't hear you now.
Can you hear Val? If you can, we can't hear you. I can see your lips moving, dear, but there's no sound. Hey, she's reading the script. Anybody hearing her?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm afraid.
Not me.
Not me either. She's going to be so disappointed when she finds out she has to do it all over again.
John,
Yes.
This is Ken. Can you hear me?
Yes, it can.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
Good. Val, I still don't know if you can hear me or not, but your mouth is moving and their audio is off. I don't think you can hear or see us.
Doesn't look like she's muted, so I don't know.
If she connected Dan through her link, it may be that it turned off her microphone because it thinks she's using the phone.
INAV, isn't there a little thing that says you can send her a message private message while she's doing this? Tell her that she's not coming through?
Yes, I tried calling her, and Kennedy just texted her, so I hope she would see that soon.
Yeah, but I meant that little message thing that's on the bottom of the computer that would pop up at her and say, nobody's listening. So does the Maricopa GUAC have these kind of problems, INAV, or is this something we have special?
So Dan, because she seemed to be on your audio, because she had her computer call you, if you can please disconnect, and we'll guide you through connecting, so hopefully that would solve the issue. But you'll have to call from your computer, so there wouldn't be any issues with her audio.
Copy, Dan?
Apologies for all these technical difficulties. Apparently, we've had some of those, and it's still not going smooth, but we'll work through it. Dan, do you hear me? And if you can please disconnect your phone.
So how's the weather over there? Are we getting smoke from California fires, or is that pretty well cleared up? Not cleared up. Says Tim. Okay.
Very hazy and smoky.
Understand we're going to drop into the 90s next week. That would be a nice change.
That's true.
I was outside about an hour ago, and it was the worst smoke smell I'd had in a long time. So,
Did you see the chart that Val sent out about how hot August has been relative to the normal? That was
I see Val disconnected and connected again. Val, do you hear us? And let's check if we can hear you.
She doesn't have audio yet.
Oh, she still doesn't have audio.
Up in Phoenix, this is going to be their 50th day above 110.
Is this a La Nina or El Nino year? Does anybody know?
Whatever year it is, I don't ever want to visit it again.
Yeah, good point.
I did see a meme with Marty McFly and Doc Brown, and they're in the future, and Doc Brown goes, "Whatever you do, Marty, never use the time machine to visit 2020."
I think it's actually an El Diablo year.
El Diablo. Could be. Yes. Yes. Well, we had a really lucky break up in where I live, up in Nora Valley, with the Bighorn fire, because it seemed like the wind blew to the north of us and to the south of us, but never down into the valley. So we did pretty well through that whole thing as far as smoke pollution went. But people in Tucson and the people up in Catalina had a bad time of it. Frivolous wind. If you have to depend on that for your weather, you're in trouble.
Same if you have to depend on it for your power.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Dan, are you on? Nope. You hearing us yet, Val? Guess not. Auspicious start for you, Doug.
Can only go up from here, right?
That's right.
You said you were in California?
Yes, over in Saratoga near San Jose. Just a
Well, that's
little bit to the east of where the fires are burning.
Probably getting a lot of smoke there then, huh?
No, strangely enough, had been, but it's clear and beautiful today. I think it's going to be 85 high and 60 something low. I shouldn't talk about that. I apologize.
Okay, I can hear sound now.
Oh boy.
But I had to call that 404 number. Huh. Am I the only one that doesn't have sound?
I don't know.
I can hear you, Val. Pat Jacobs.
I have
Okay.
some.
All right, I'm trying to get back to the meeting itself. Okay, it says connecting. Okay, I got Tim.
I don't know what's that ringing?
ringing.
We have two of you now.
You're connected by two devices.
Well,
Val, you need to turn your computer microphone off.
I did.
Oh, that's good.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can?
Yes.
All
Only
right, all
one
right.
of
I hung up. I just hung up off the phone. Okay. Where were we when we were so rudely interrupted? Does
You're about to
anybody?
read the script.
I was going to read the script. Okay, you guys were going to introduce yourself. Doug, start with you.
Doug Greenland, work with Cortera Marana Irrigation District.
Dan?
So happy to be here, but have a lot to learn.
Dan?
I don't know if we have Dan yet.
Val, I just spoke with Dan and gave him the number. He should be calling.
Okay. Pat, you want to call?
any
You want to
second now,
say
hopefully.
hi? Pat? Okay, Tim, you want to say hi?
Can you hear me? This is
Yes,
Pat
Pat.
Jacobs.
Okay.
Pat Jacobs from Central Arizona
Tim's-
Project.
Okay, and Tim's here. Tim, what title are we going to use for you today?
Let's go with interim director of Parks and Recreation for today.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, oh boy. Okay, AMA staff introductions, please.
Thank you. So this is Einav Henenson here with the Active Management Area section.
And this is Kennedy Shepard, Groundwater User Advisory Council Coordinator.
And we also have McKenna. Would you mind introducing yourself? She's remoting in.
Hello, and this is McKenna Welsh. I'm the Management Plan Specialist.
Is that all the ADWR staff we've got with us?
Yes, they will be speaking today.
Okay, thank you. Audience members, anybody want to say hi? I don't know. Anybody want to talk up? Just unmute and tell us who you are.
Good afternoon. I'm Rosanna Gavaldon, Arizona State Representative, there's District 2.
Excellent.
Nice to see everybody.
Others?
John Mawini, observer.
Oh, yes. Now I have John Winnie is Einav Henenson. That's pretty interesting, that. Okay, do we have Ken Seasholes with us? Yep.
There's Ken. Hi, Ken.
Hello, Ken.
I
Okay.
still can't see him as an attendee. Val, do you want to go ahead and show it right now, or what would you like to do? There? Val, are you still here?
It looks like she's having connectivity issues. She's got the little yellow triangle of bad connection-ness.
So let's give her a second here.
Wallen, they're not normally like this, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, Val, you back?
Here we go. I can see. Val, do you hear us?
Yeah, I think she's bad connection.
Okay, so maybe in the meantime we're waiting for her. She referred to Ken Seasholes because he was able to coordinate with other Tucson AMA directors to make a really nice short video to say thank you and goodbye to John. As you may, those that attended last meeting, or it was 2 meetings ago, heard from Mr. Mawini that he'll be retiring. So we want to wish him all the best, and really sad to see him leave, but excited for him for his future endeavors and retirement. So Kennedy will start the video, and hopefully Val could join us after it's done.
Hi, John. As one of several former Tucson AMA directors that had the honor of your time and commitment while serving on the GUAC, I want to express my deep appreciation for your advice, support, and friendship. During my tenure, I've benefited greatly from your passion, your unfailing commitment to safety yield, and your focus on finding solutions for the Tucson community. So, thank you, John. Hi, John. Jeff Taylor here. I want to thank you for your many years of assistance and leadership on the Tucson GUAC, and I hope that you are enjoying retirement as much as I am. Take care.
Thank you, John. Hi, John. Thank you so much for all your years of service to the Tucson Active Management Area and for tilting at Windmill with all of us. We appreciate everything you've done and hope that when you step back from the GUAC, you'll go off and do even more fun things. Bye.
That's good.
There's Val again.
I'm here. Could you hear all that, John?
I could hear and see it all.
Oh, good, because it was cutting out badly for me, but it's the thoughts that count, and we're going to miss you, dear.
Well, I appreciate the thought.
Good. Okay, we're going to try to move on to item number 2, webinar logistics, which is a very timely topic for this particular day. Kennedy, take it away, dear.
All right, thank you. We do have a pretty busy agenda for today, so we just ask that members of the public to remain muted. If you do wish to address the council, the call to public is going to be your time, so feel free to hold on some of those questions. You can unmute yourself, or you are more than welcome to write your question in the chat box, which can be found if you move your cursor over the screen. It'll be the little bubble. It's the third bubble from the left. So that'll be a time for everybody there. And for members, feel free to stay unmuted during this time, or you can mute yourself, whichever you wish. And to let everybody know that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on our website, and anything that is said in the chat will also be recorded and posted. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kennedy. Item number 3 is to elect a GUAC chair and vice chair as required by statute. We need to elect a chair and a vice chair every 2 years, we say. So take it away, members. We want to discuss. I can't hear anybody. Nobody's talking.
Somebody could nominate Val if they didn't have anything else.
Everything else and all. We'll make it part of our file. Yeah.
I'd like to move that Val be made president, what is it, president or committee chairman by acclamation. Pat Jacobs.
This is Doug Greenland. I'll second the motion.
Other discussion? Okay, I never heard from Dan. Dan, you with us? Okay, do we need a vote? Tim, you vote.
I vote yes.
Okay, Dan, you're the only one we haven't heard from.
Dan's fine.
I don't see him. He might have kept on having technical difficulties.
Well, let's say that we've had a vote of 3 votes to have that happen, and so that got taken care of. Now, while Dan's off, let's nominate Dan to be the vice chair. Anybody want to second that?
I second Pat Jacobs.
Okay. Any comments? All in favor of Dan for vice chair? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Is that good enough, Ainov?
That's perfect.
It's far from perfect, but might work. Okay, now we got to go on to item number 4, which is the WMAP updates and groundwater withdrawal fee recommendations. Okay, now we're getting down to it. Okay, Ainov?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, members of the council, members of the public. So we have on the screen a review of the past 5 years of withdrawal fees, including the fees that were collected for the different components of the fee. So as you hopefully you'll remember, withdrawal fees for year 2020 are set at $3.25, 25 cents going towards the Water Management Assistance Program, 50 cents going towards the Administration and Enforcement fee, and $2.5 going towards the water bank. And this is per acre foot. Today, GUC members are asked to make recommendations to ADWR Director regarding the rate of the Water Management Assistance Program and of the Administration and Enforcement components of the withdrawal fees for reporting year 2021, which will be collected in 2022, so in quite a while from now. So for reference, this table provides, as I mentioned, the past 5 years withdrawal fee rates for those different components, as well as the different fees that were collected. And you can see at the last column, the highlighted sections under the 2021, sorry, there is a little typo over there, but it's for 2021, are the statutory framework. So the maximum amount that can be allocated for the Water Management Assistance Program, also called conservation and augmentation in the past, is $2. And for admin and enforcement, the fee should be set between 50 cents and $1. So this is what we would ask members to discuss and vote on today. The middle or the table on the bottom, you can see over here is the funds that we currently have available under the Water Management Assistance Program. And just to remind you, all those fees going for conservation, augmentation, and or research and water availability projects within the active management areas. So currently we have a balance of almost $79,000. However, we do have several projects that are active. And if Kennedy, if you don't mind scrolling a little down. And we just have the list of those 3 projects here. So we still have those projects active, and there are some encumbered funds for those projects. So after reducing those committed funds of $7,600 or so, we do have a remaining balance of only $6,000. And again, we're going to start collecting Water Management Assistance Program fees starting from next year. So we'll see more money coming into this fee or this fund. And again, as I mentioned, in the bottom we have the current funded projects. We have Arizona Project WET, that is a long-going project that we've been funding in the past several years, and the contract would end at 2021. We have the installation of SCADA systems by Crater-Morana Irrigation District with remaining funds of $37,500. The district actually completed this project and is working on the final report for that last deliverable and payment. And Mr. Greenland will present to us soon about the project accomplishments. And finally, our last project is with USGS for aquifer storage and monitoring with remaining funding of about $13,000. So before asking GRC members to discuss the fees, are there any questions about any of the tables, any of the information that presented on this document?
Hey, Nov, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Just to make sure I understand. So if I look at those lines, would it be fair to assume then that we'll collect about $40,000 the first of next year with the 25-cent fee? If we were collecting almost 80,000 on 50 cents, does that mean we're expecting 40 to come in?
Yes, I would say that's a relatively good estimate. Of course, it depends how many acre feet are withdrawn, and you can see that it does change slightly from year to year. But I would say that's a good estimate, maybe somewhere between $30,000 to $40,000.
And does all that money come directly to us, or is there some administration fees or other things that get siphoned off? Or
so for this specific component of the fee, all the water management assistance program money goes towards the water management assistance program projects and programs. So it would be dedicated solely for conservation, augmentation, and research and availability of water within the active management area for those types of projects.
Okay.
Doug?
Mm-hmm.
This is Val. We actually have very little control about this money. The water bank money is not up to us, so that $250 is a done deal. The administrative fee, I guess we can have input into that, but that was settled outside our purview 4 or 5 years ago, so we don't have much control over that. We can't say, no, we don't want you to collect the 50 cents. So really, the WMAP money with a maximum of $2 is really all we have control over.
Right. And so what I heard was with the current 25 cents, we're expecting $30,000 to $40,000.
Right. Right. And I think it would be good for us to discuss whether we want to go back to 50 cents rather than the 25 cents that we allocated for last year.
Val, can I?
Yeah, Tim, is that you?
Yes, this is Tim. We recommended 50 cents last year, and the director only approved 25 cents.
That's kind of what I remembered, yeah.
We recommended it because for a couple of years, there was a perception that there might not be that many projects that would be pursuing the money. But in my opinion, we saw a number of projects come in, not for the same money, but very similar program was the $2 million. We ended up not being able to fund everything we might have wanted to. And right now we basically have no money because it's all spent. We're going to gain 40,000, but when you look at at least one of the projects is going to be completed, but the other two are activities that this GUAC may want to continue and consider in 21. Right. So I felt 50 cents was right last year. I feel like it's still right this year. That's my opinion.
Pat, do you have comment?
Pardon the dog barking. We'll try to quiet them down. I'd go for 75 cents because when I look at the three projects, I see the two of them probably being ongoing, and I would like to see more of the third one, the middle one with SCADA. I hope you heard that. 75 cents because I'd like to keep SCADA projects going, and I believe the other two are things that are long-lasting and we should support.
Doug, do you have a comment? Dan, any comment? We have him.
Is Dan there? I was going to say, I think that the latest round of the state money, the $2 million, certainly showed that the Tucson AMA had several good projects out there that, given the money, that we could support. So and to Tim's point, I think we are about out of money, and considering that this money won't be collected until 2022 then, is that right? So, I mean, we've got some lost time probably to make up for, it looks like.
Well, and I think strategically, if we unanimously vote that we want to go to 75 cents, then maybe that sends a pretty strong message to Tom that he won't back down to 25 cents. He might go to 50, or maybe he'll go to 75 cents. I don't know, but I would support voting for 75 cents.
I'd be fine with 75 cents.
Okay.
I can support that.
Okay. We've got 4 out of 5, and we're not getting Dan. So let's call the question. All in favor
Val,
of 75? Yeah.
I so move.
Okay. And a second, please.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. That's a pretty good recommendation. Thanks, you guys.
Ms. Chair, if you don't mind me just saying a couple more points. I know the $2 million groundwater conservation grant came up, so I can provide a sentence or two about that.
That would be great, because I think there's people on board on this meeting that weren't there for the discussion and the decision about those grants.
Excellent. I'll just say, so unfortunately, we're still working on verifying and finalizing some of the last details. We had a lot of communications with the different applicants about the proposed funding requests that they had and some of the suggested lower requests to make sure that those fundings can actually move forward with the recommended amounts. So we're still working on that, but we feel that we're very close to make those final decisions, but we're still waiting on a few of those responses from applicants. So hopefully we'll have a notice coming out soon to all of the stakeholders for the AMA. So we're working on that. And maybe I'll just mention, you mentioned that there may be people who are not involved, so you may remember there were $2 million allocated as part of the drought contingency plan on the Colorado River discussions, and they're divided among the 5 active management areas on a per capita basis. Tucson AMA received $305,000 towards conservation of groundwater within the Tucson active management area. I would also like to mention that Director Bishatsky did support the increase from 0 to 25 cents for the water management assistance program. The reason why he didn't feel that he wanted to go the full amount that was recommended by the GOC is because of those additional funds of $305,000. But he definitely did support the increase. So I'll definitely convey your recommendation to increase it to 75 cents.
Great, great. Comments or questions on this item? Okay, we're moving. What will be reduced as a result of the 75 cents? Mitch asks that question. I'm not sure anything gets reduced.
Nothing.
Correct. And it would just mean that the withdrawal fee would be set if the director approves the increase of 75 cents for the water management assistance program. It would be increased to 3.75 cents per acre feet, or $3 per 25 cents per acre feet of groundwater withdrawn. So those increased of 50 cents will just increase the withdrawal fees. All the other components would remain the same. Does that answer your question, Mitch?
Good. Oh, that's working good. All right, we're going to move on now to item number 5, and McKenna Welch will provide us with a management plan update.
Hello.
Ms. Chair, sorry, McKenna, I'm really sorry I'm cutting you off, but we do have a presentation on the water management assistance program on the Cortera-Marana Irrigation District by Mr. Greenland.
Oh, there's the latest meeting agenda that I'm not even looking at. I'm looking at my script. I have too many papers. I'm so sorry, Doug. I really looked forward to this. So I'm going to backtrack to item number 4C and take it away, Doug.
All right, do I have control, or are you gonna advance pages for me, or?
Yeah, we'll advance pages. Just let us know, and Kennedy will do that.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and go to the next page. So just as a reminder to everyone, the project was to install SCADA terminals at 6 of our wells. You can see their names there. And this was to allow for remote starting, stopping, time start. And we also installed a air notification software that we could receive on our phones, computers, and then lifetime monitoring of the wells as well. And these wells were chosen based on location, their flow, and the potential for savings based on previous history of the area they were in, those kind of things. And before this project, we had installed the base system in the office and had connected 2 wells to it. So this was really our, we got the base set up, and this was really our biggest push into SCADA so far. Should go ahead and advance it. So that kind of shows you the map of where the locations were. We picked them somewhat also based on location there, as how far spread out they were. Again, wanting to test out everything and make sure we could communicate across the district if needed. The next page. So here you can see the gallons saved, as well as part of the appropriation was we said we could save 10 million gallons. And we also were asked to track the kilowatt hours saved by not pumping those gallons. So in 7 months, we were able to reach that target of 10 million gallons, and we saved 11,175 kilowatt hours from not pumping. The interesting thing here is, so we did it in 7 months. We also did it in a year with so far very little monsoon activity.
Right.
Which was kind of a surprise to us. And if you look at the totals there, you'll see that actually one well that we put our SCADA on had no savings from what we were counting, but there was also a well that didn't have SCADA on it, but we counted savings towards this project, and I'll explain that in a second here. So, but other than those two, they were pretty much across the board. We kind of got what we expected. So, for example, you can see the large savings from 16F1. That is our well that was in the middle of the river that we can't get to turn on or off if we're, mud or have a high flow situation. So obviously that was one that we expected to save a lot on, and we did. With 8J, just because it doesn't show any savings there, that doesn't mean we haven't been using it. We have been using it to turn on and off the well on a regular basis, but for simplicity, we did not count any savings from, for example, if my guys are out there turning on the well from their truck, then what they're doing is they're timing that for the water to be where they want, and that was very difficult to kind of say how much time water we saved. We could figure out time, but it was subjective for water. And so we just didn't count those savings, even though we believe there are some there. So we were pretty conservative on what we did count. And then on 26J3, we did not have SCADA hooked up to it, but it is in a similar power grid to one of our ones that did have SCADA next to it. So what our guys were doing was piggybacking on that, where if one of the wells that was next to it went down, they would also go check that well, and found quite often that it had the same problem based on the power grid, and we were able to show some savings for that. And I throw that in there. There were a lot of other times, for example, where the storm hit, we were able to turn everything off immediately, and that saved us time. And then we were able to get other wells that would have taken much longer to get shut down. We were able to get those shut down sooner, but we did not count any of that savings either. I mean, we just tried to stick purely, for the most part, with the wells that we had the SCADA on. I don't know, does that make sense? Any questions on those numbers, or?
I'd be sort of interested in approximately how much are you paying per kilowatt hour?
Well, we're a little bit different in that we have a contract with Hoover Power.
Uh-huh.
So I think our average cost is about 4.5 cents.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, and that includes the power coming out of Hoover and all the transmission charges along the way.
And the life of this setup is what, 20 years? Do you calculate 20 years?
Yeah,
or 30?
we talked about to some of the people, and they're telling us that they know of systems that have been in 20 years and they don't see why they wouldn't last 30.
Yeah.
So I mean, there may be some maintenance coming down the road, but you know, so far it's actually worked better, and we've actually had our guys come back to us and tell us things that they did to save water that we hadn't even thought of. For example, on our furthest out there, pump number 15, you know, one of the farmers had told our irrigator that he wanted you know, they were going to be done at, you know, 11 o'clock that night. And normally what would have happened was they would have said, well, that's great, we'll turn you off first thing in the morning. Instead, my guy went home. He's at home watching the news. It gets to be 11 o'clock at night, and he reaches for his phone, turns off the well, and, you know, so basically we're saving water all through the night by doing that.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting, and with getting that many wells up and running in that many different situations, we did find several things like that where we're now kind of looking at other ways we can combine it with other SCADA, whether it's gates or those kind of things, to also save water. So
That's just great, Doug. Comments or questions for Doug? Yeah.
Madam Chair, Pat Jacobs.
Certainly.
I know you mentioned the one that is 0 and the low one, but would you mind going over that again? I didn't quite catch it.
So the 8J that we didn't show any actual savings. We didn't have any emergency turn-ons or offs on that particular well in these 7 months. If you want, go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is our road to 8J from the previous year. So it's just a matter of timing. It's a matter of, we didn't have a good monsoon season this year, but certainly last year you can see what we would have had to fight to get to turn that well off, and obviously would have been several hours, if not, you know, the next day before we could have got into it.
Mm-hmm.
We did use the SCADA on 8J though to regularly turn it on and off just to time the flow better, to you know, come down the canal at the right time. So, and I did a rough estimate on that. I mean, if we wanted to be very conservative, and I looked at how many times we had turned wells on and off, just timing the water better and saying we saved, you know, 5 minutes each time, we came out somewhere between, you know, again, a very conservative estimate would have been between probably 1.2 and 2 million gallons additional that we probably did save, but we just didn't have a way to really account for that.
This is really good. Other questions for Doug? Are you going? Do you have other slides, Doug?
I think I've got one more if we could.
Okay. Okay.
Two more. So this is just talking about the savings. So our main savings came from weather events. There were power issues that helped us to get things back on and not have the farmer have to restart and waste water where he'd already watered. The alarm issue saved us a lot of time and effort. And again, we didn't count any time savings for our employees or anything like that. And I mentioned the other one where our employees found other ways to turn it off. So again, we didn't count the time savings. We didn't count the on and off savings, and we didn't count any employee time savings. And you want to go to the last slide? So what's next is we already have a Bureau of Reclamation grant for another 8 wells.
Great.
We've already started that. The actual SCADA remote terminal units are here. My guys have started to put up the antennas and those kind of things. We have the WMAP gate appropriation that'll go in. And if that works well, we'll probably apply for another 7 or 8 gates, because we're finding that with the SCADA on the wells and the SCADA on the gates, we think there's some major savings that we can do out there when needing to shut off late at night or the middle of the night kind of thing. And then that'll probably be our next one that we go after for the Bureau of Reclamation will be for those main canal gates. So, and Val, just because I know you're going to ask the question, our district previously had been running about 6% waste for the year for 2019, and so far for 2020 we have been averaging about 3%.
That's just great. I just really think this is terrific. And I just, off the top of my head, it seems like you're saving about 30 acre feet a year times 20 years on this one project. That's a lot of savings. Yeah. And if it has scale up ability for you and for other folks, that's terrific. That's about as good as it gets in my book. So, comments and questions for Doug?
My comment is well done, and I appreciate the fact that you're doing good things with the investments that are being provided, and also that I'm very glad that you're on our advisory committee now. I think you bring a lot to the table. So.
Yep. Pat, any comment or question? He's putting the dogs out. Okay, let's see. Now should we go to the management plan update? Thank you so much, Doug. This is great. I'll probably ask you questions offline.
Yeah, Val?
Yes, sir.
I just want to also welcome Dave to the advisory committee and thank him for the report.
Good. Well done. Okay, McKenna, you with us, dear?
Hello, I am with you.
Okay.
All right. So my name is McKenna Welsh. I am a management plan specialist working at ADWR on the management plans team. And today I will be providing updates on the 4th and the 5th management plans. Next slide. Okay. So the Tucson AMA 4th management plan was adopted in 2016. And the Prescott AMA 4th management plan was adopted in 2014. And the ADWR management plans team is working to adopt the remaining 3 4th management plans, which are the plans you see on the screen there. So we're planning on adopting these remaining 4th management plans by the end of this year. And so far, the Phoenix AMA 4th management plan has been adopted. Pinal and Santa Cruz are both on track to also be adopted by the end of the year. Next slide. We recently held the Pinal AMA 4th management plan public hearing on August 20th, and the Santa Cruz AMA 4th management plan public hearing is scheduled for September 22nd. The conservation programs for all 3 of these remaining 4th management plans will become effective on January 1st of 2023. Next slide. All right, and so for the 5th management plans, we have a 5th management plan work group that was started in July of 2019. We formed this group as the stakeholder process for developing the 5th management plans. And in 2021, we plan to start drafting the 5th management plans. Our plan is to adopt these 5th management plans by the end of 2023 so that they will all become effective on January 1st of 2025. Next slide. So our 5th management plans work group and our subgroups that are part of this main work group have all been meeting regularly since July of 2019. We have assessed the existing conservation programs, and we've moved on to updating the existing strategies as well as discussing potential new strategies. Next slide. So as we're moving more into this developmental phase, we wanted to compile all of the proposals and public comments in one place. So we created a fifth management plans concepts webpage. This webpage lists the proposals presented at our work group meetings, provides links to the corresponding material, including dashboards and other supplementary material, and also includes public comments. And so I will now provide just a quick overview of this page. So Kennedy, you can pass me the presenter ball.
McKenna, do you have the presenter?
No,
Did it get to you?
No. I think it went to the other DWR.
Okay.
Login.
Okay, do you have it now?
No. Let me try to grab it myself. Hold on.
Okay.
See if that works. Yeah, it's not letting me grab it either.
Okay.
I'm gonna raise my hand so you know which one's me.
Okay. I'm not seeing you raise your hand.
Do you not see, or do you see the 3 DWR logins?
I'm only seeing 2, but it says you're speaking under one with me.
Okay.
McKenna, how about Kennedy would open the web page and you can tell her where to go? Would that work?
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to go over the layout, so that would be fine. Kennedy, I just put the link in the chat. Also, everyone else can use that link to check out the new webpage.
Comments or questions, or are you mid presentation?
I believe Kennedy is going to pull up the website for me, and I'm going to go over that quickly. Okay. All right, so the layout of the webpage is the main organization is by the subgroup. So if you click on one of the drop downs for a subgroup, you will see additional drop downs, and each of those drop downs are for different concepts that have been presented at our subgroup meetings. So if you want to go to the first one, the Tiers for BMP program. Okay, so under each of the concepts, there will be a short summary just describing that proposal. Below that, we will have any meeting links where that proposal was discussed. If you click on that meeting link, it will take you to a page that has our agenda, our presentation slides, and the meeting recording. So it'll look like this, and you could listen back to a previous meeting. And then below the meeting link, if you could go back to the BMP concept. All right, so below each of the meeting links, there will be a short summary on what was covered in that meeting. And then if there is any supplemental material that was presented, so in this case, we had a Power BI dashboard that was looking at different proposals for a tier structure. We've included that here so that you can interact with those supplementary materials and have that available. It's a live dashboard, so you're able to filter right here. You don't have to leave this web page, and you can make it full screen by clicking the arrows in the bottom right corner. And then below that additional material, we will have one more section, which is for stakeholder comments. So any feedback we've received from our meeting questionnaires, or if there's been written comments that we've received outside of our questionnaires, we will list all of that here. We also have our email address in case you would like to submit any new comments on our proposals that are on this page. So each drop down has the same layout. So you can go under each of our subgroups and get additional information on what we've been discussing and working on in our fifth management plans work groups. So if anyone has any questions at this point on the webpage, we could pause just for a minute. And then after that, I just have an update on our upcoming meetings.
Any comments or questions at this point for McKenna? Why don't you move on, McKenna?
Okay, thank you. All right, so this has our upcoming meetings. Our very next one will be the municipal subgroup meeting on September 14th. And we do have most of our other subgroups scheduled throughout the rest of this year. And if you would ever like to see our upcoming meetings or review any of the material from previous meetings, you can go to the link that's on this screen. Next slide. All right, thank you very much for your time and attention. At this point, if you have any other questions or comments, I can take those now.
Anything for McKenna before we lose her? Thanks much. I do have one minor question. At this point, the fifth management plan will run from what date to what date in the Tucson AMA?
So we're planning for them to become effective in 2025. And from there, it is indefinite until a new management plan or whatever is beyond 2025 that is going to happen, which is why we have the GWAKE post 2025 committee, because the last management plan will just continue on until something else takes its place.
But the answer to my question was, if it goes until 2025, when do you anticipate these fifth management plans will start?
So that will actually be the start date. We are behind, but that will still be the date that they become effective. And then they don't end in 2025 because in statute, they just will continue indefinitely until something else takes its place. So we don't have an end date at this point. That'll probably be part of the post 2025 AMA's discussion.
Okie dokie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Einav, AMA Director's Report.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. So I will cover really briefly the 2019 annual water withdrawal and use reporting, and then I'll cover some of the past and recent activities of the Governor's Water Augmentation, Innovation, and Conservation Council. So starting with the annual reports, As I'm sure you all know, annual reports are due on March 31st every year for the previous year. However, in response to COVID-19 emergency, ADWR waived all late fees associated with filing annual water use reports from March 31st all the way through June 26th. So now that we're about 2 months past this date, there are some statistics that I'd like to share with you for the 2019 annual report season. So we expect to receive about 600 or 6,500 annual reports for year 2019. So far, we received about 5890 reports, and there are about 682 reports that failed to file, which accounts to 10.4% of failure to file rate. This number is actually a little higher than what we've seen in previous years. So just as an example, we stood at about 7.6% in July of last year. However, we feel that it's pretty understandable given the COVID-19 and the circumstances that we all face. We sent a failure to file letters in mid-July to all owners of those reports that failed to file, and it did generate additional waiver of filing. And we also plan on sending a final failure to file letter to those that still haven't filed in a few weeks, which we hope would also help with further reducing the failure to file number. The table in the bottom, and Kennedy, if you can scroll down a little bit. So this table breaks down the report received by either those that received online or those that were received as a hard copy or a paper copy. And we have about 2,800 reports received online, and that stands at about 49%. And we also have about 2,950 reports that were filed as hard copies or on paper, and that stands at about 51%. And this is actually an increase of about 6% of reports filed online from last year. So in addition to COVID-19, this year, in collaboration with our IT team, we redesigned the electronic online reporting tool to improve the functionality and the performance of the tool. And we believe that given those improvements, and in addition to those circumstances that we all face in the past several months, that forced most of us, at least, to work from home or work remotely, we believe that those were probably the two major contributions to the increase in filing online. That being said, we still have some forms that are yet to be available electronically, and those are the more complex forms, such as municipal provider reports or irrigation district annual reports. But we do try to add more reports onto the electronic tool as much as we can every year. So we really hope this number of reports that filed online to steadily increase as it has in the past several years, or since we started offering online reporting from 2007 or so. So that's about a little bit about online reporting, and just I'm sure that's something that you're all familiar with, but for us, it's very beneficial to have people submit it electronically because the data from these reports entered our database electronically, which help us a lot with first reducing human error of either the reporter or our staff when they enter the data into the database, but it also allows our staff to devote more time and ability to do more quality control, to focus on planning activities, on data transparency initiatives, and other water resources efforts instead of spending those hours upon hours of manually entering that data into our database. So that sums up my update on our 2019 annual reporting season, and I can take any questions if you have before moving on to the next update.
Any questions for Einav on that item?
I had a couple of questions. Is that the total state of Arizona, or is that just the Tucson AMA, those numbers?
It's for this whole state.
Apology, I was muted. So yeah, correct. It is for the 5 active management areas. Some of the numbers do reflect some reports we received from irrigation non-expansion areas, but it's a very small percentage compared to the reports submitted by active management area right holders.
And on your second chart, which of those groups are the ones that
Sorry, I didn't hear the end of your question.
So the agriculture, BMPs, industrial, irrigation district, municipal recharge, is there a certain group that has the most trouble getting it filed on time, or?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have the answer. I feel like it depends on the circumstances. I don't know that there is a specific group that more so than other that have issues submitting on time. I would say that because there are late fees associated with reporting, we do see those that use more water tend to file on time because the late fees associated with failing to file or filing after the deadline are relatively hefty. So that's usually what we see, but there isn't any specific sector that file more so on time or less so.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Pat Jacobs.
Yes, Pat.
Can you give us a link if there is data showing it by AMA so that we could go out and look and compare if we wished?
Yes, we would love to. We actually have a AMA data page on our website, and it does have a lot of information collected throughout the years on water use reports. So far, I believe the latest year that we have on the page is 2018. It does take us time to update it because we just received 2019 information, and as I mentioned, we have to do a lot of data entry and a lot of quality control. So I hope that in the next several months, perhaps, we'll be able to update that page with 2019 reports. But this page does provide a lot of really good water use information by AMA, by sector, from the time we started collecting this information. So yeah, we'll definitely be happy to send that around.
Thank you.
Oh, and I see actually Kennedy just put the link on the chat box, so you can all refer to that or link on it, and that would take you to the AMA data page.
Very good. I think it's worth repeating that you said that the fine for not filing or failure to file or filing late is related to the amount of pumpage as opposed to flat fees, which I think is probably not. I mean, I didn't know that. Maybe I'm like some people. I'm the only one who didn't know that. Yeah, it would be really helpful to know who hasn't filed in our AMA.
Correct. So I can provide just a little bit more information on failure to file. So for any month that somebody is late, they're responsible for $25 up to 6 months. So the maximum for this component of the late fee will be $150. But then there is another component, which is a 10% of the withdrawal fees that an entity or an individual is required to pay for every late month. So it's up to 60% of the withdrawal fees that you will pay. So again, if you use a lot of water or pump a lot of groundwater,
right,
you would need to pay 60% of it just for the late fees.
Right. That's interesting. Thank you. Other comments or questions before Anab moves on? Go ahead, kiddo.
Thank you. So next, I just want to provide some updates on the, as I mentioned, Governor's Water Augmentation Innovation Conservation Council. In short, I'm just going to call it the council. And we did talk a little bit about it in previous meetings, but just a little background for those who missed it. So the council is charged with a number of items. Most significantly is to identify and recommend opportunities for water augmentation, innovation, and conservation for the state of Arizona. The council is also tasked with providing guidance on issues to ADWR director upon the director's request, and it meets quarterly. At the last meeting of the council on March 13 of this year, ADWR provided the council with foundational information regarding tribal water rights and water rights settlements to ensure a basic understanding ahead of presentations by the tribes. And the tribes will speak to the council regarding tribal water rights and water rights settlements at a special meeting of the council on September 10th from 9 a.m. So if you're interested in this topic, please do mark your calendars. And the council will also hold its next regularly scheduled meeting, its quarterly meeting on September 15th from 10 a.m. till noon. The council has currently 4 working committees. The first is the Long-Term Augmentation Committee with the purpose of identifying and exploring methods of augmenting water supplies in Arizona. The second is the Desalination Committee, and its purpose is to identify opportunities to assist in developing potential desalination projects, as well as to evaluate and overcome barriers of such projects. This past year was largely focused on exploring the challenges and opportunities involved with use and desalination of brackish groundwater. The non-AMA Groundwater Committee's purpose is to address groundwater issues outside of the active management areas, and the meetings of this committee has been largely informational in nature in order to gain understanding of the status of groundwater supplies outside the active management areas, what data is available in these areas, and what are the data gaps that exist. Committee participants identified issues and concerns relating to groundwater use and topics for discussion and narrowed the list to 4 categories. One is groundwater management strategies. The second is the data needs. Third is best management practices and education. And fourth is well monitoring or measuring and reporting. The committee will be taking the topic of irrigation on expansion area next, and this will be in their upcoming meeting. However, there is currently no date for that meeting. And the fourth and final committee of the council is the post-2025 AMA committee, which McKenna mentioned briefly, and this probably is one of the most relevant committees to the GOEC and to probably everyone on the meeting today. The purpose of this meeting is to identify challenges within the active management areas and generate strategies and solutions beyond 2025. The committee is chaired by both Mr. Tomier, which you all know, and Warren Tenney, the director of AMWA. So the committee began the work of identifying some challenges in October 2019 and will continue the process of issue identification and analysis through 2020 with the hope to have a consensus-based list of issues, each described in an issue brief. And those issues will then be brought to the full council for consideration and discussion no later than the December 2020 council meeting. So coming up relatively shortly here. And once there is consensus around the issues and priorities, and there is support from the council, work to develop the solutions for those issues will begin in 2021. So far, the committee has completed 3 issue briefs. The first is replenish groundwater pumping. The second is hydrologic disconnect. And the third is about exempt wells. During the last meeting, actually happened this last Wednesday, there was a robust discussion regarding the Central Arizona Groundwater Replenishment District and its role within the Assured Water Supply Program. Given we have the chair of this committee or the co-chair of this committee here with us, I would like to ask Mr. Tomier if he would like to provide any additional details about the committee or about any of the recent activities.
Thanks, Heina. That was actually a really good update, and that's correct. Those are the 3 issue papers you mentioned are pretty much ready to go to the full council to determine whether the full council concurs with taking those forward to the solution phase. And then, as you mentioned, the subject of CAGRD relative to the Assured Water Supply Program was discussed earlier this week. And there were 4 main question areas that were discussed as follows. One of the discussion topics was when considering the assured water supply rules, is it prudent to continue to allow certificates of assured water supply and designations of assured water supply to rely primarily on groundwater as we prepare for the next 100 years? That generated discussion. The second one, is there an unreasonable reliance on potential future renewable supplies enabling groundwater use today? You know, if groundwater is the bridge to renewable supplies, what's the expectation that renewable supplies will become available? The third one was, what issues do you foresee post 2025 with certificates not being required to develop a 100-year water supply outside of the identified groundwater resources? Basically, that's around that you can actually get a certificate that's 100% reliant on groundwater. And yes, at the time you apply, you have to show that you have 100 years worth of groundwater, but is that setting us up for some challenges in the future? And then the fourth one is, what issues do you see post 2025 given the CEGRD must perpetually acquire renewable water supplies to offset the groundwater use of its members? So even though there's the replenishment side of the replenishment district, and whether or not there's challenges with identifying and acquiring those renewable supplies. And there was also a bit of a discussion about does that set up, or have we already observed that CEGRD is placed in competition with other water providers or even their own members? And there were a couple of examples provided where we've already seen where CEGRD was in competition with its own membership over a particular water supply or water supplies, which then, if CEGRD obtains that supply, that member is now even more heavily reliant on the CEGRD. So I wouldn't say we had consensus on all the points of view. And another part of the robust discussion was, how much data do you need to have in order to call something a problem or a challenge that needs to be addressed? And I think I am at the point as one of the co-chairs where I feel like this particular set of questions is sufficient to merit further study. So I believe the recommendation will be that, yes, even though we don't have all the data we need yet, we have enough knowledge to say that we need to characterize the magnitude of the issue and potentially develop solutions. And the goal would be to take these 4 to the full council in the December meeting. I'd say there's a possibility that a 5th one could result from, we're planning to have a September meeting, I think September, October. If we have that meeting and if we get another juicy topic to bring forward, that could also join the list to go to GWAC, the full council in December. But if not, it would be at least those 4 identified. That's what I have.
Thanks, Tim. That's really helpful.
I will also say, sorry, I did have one more thing. We wouldn't be doing any of this if it weren't for ADWR really being dedicated and dedicating resources to be able to characterize the issues. And I think AMWA deserves a lot of credit for really helping put some of the research and thought behind the issue papers up front. So.
Good.
Thank you. And Val, I just have last sentence about this topic. I just want to mention to all of you that the committee meetings are where much of the council work is accomplished, and these meetings are open to the public, and they do include both council and non-council members, and there are no formal memberships. So if any of you is interested in any of these topics, in participating and providing your input, we really do encourage you and anyone to attend and to participate. And finally, all of these meetings are recorded and are posted on ADWR webpage. Also, the dates for the upcoming meetings are posted on our public meeting webpage, so you are encouraged to find those dates if I didn't mention them or we still don't have them. And if you can't make it or miss any of these meetings, please do listen in and see what was discussed so you're prepared for the next one. And that's all I have on this topic.
Thank you, Einov. As we transition to call to the council, do you have any comments or questions for Einov about her report or things that you'd like her to report out on next time, maybe? Okay, let's go call to the council. Pretty quiet. Okay. Before we leave call to the council, I'll say I have two things, very minor things. One is because the USGS study that we're supporting runs out next month, and we have not heard from them, I'd sort of like to have a request put to them to come and tell us what the years, I think it's 3 years at least, maybe more, that we have funded them, what's been accomplished, and have them report out on that that grant. So that's
excellent. Thank you.
because we don't have a specific item for future agenda topics. Call to the public, anybody? Nobody wants to talk. Okay, I would like to address technical issues. Hopefully by the next time we'll have some of this ironed out. I have a question about whether ADWR is required to use Cisco or can you use other forms of webinar services?
We tried a few other ones. There are some security issues with some that we attempted to try. So far, WebEx worked the best for our needs. However, if there is any platform that work for any of you in whatever other meetings that you have, we're always interested and welcome any thoughts and ideas. And I know in one of our first meeting that we did webinar through WebEx, we did have some sort of a preparation for GOAC members so we can test with everyone the microphone and the video. If that's useful, we can do that again ahead of the next meeting.
Do you think, Einov, that most of this was operator error as opposed to technical difficulties? They're two different things, and no one's more of a Luddite than I am.
I think sometimes it's challenging, and I know that there is definitely a lot of platforms out there, so I can see that being an issue. So again, we'll be more than happy to work with specific members or anyone in general and try and reduce those issues before.
We need to try to keep it as simple as possible. As simple as possible.
Agreed.
Okay, call to the public. Nobody wants to talk?
Val, this is Kathy Chavez.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to announce that the Pima County Local Drought Impact Group will meet on September.
Hey, there's Kathy. Oh.
We'll meet on September 9th. The Weather Service is going to give us an overview of the summer season, including the monsoons. And then Mitch is going to also give us a report on CAP status. You probably are aware that Reclamation recently issued the August 24-month projection.
Right.
So I'm going to list, the agenda will be posted on the Pima County LDIC website, and I will post that website link in the chat box in case you want the agenda. And yeah, if you want to attend, let me know, and it'll be online through Microsoft Teams.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Good to see you.
Yeah.
See familiar faces. Other comments from the public? Okay. Unless there's objection, I adjourn this meeting. And are there any objections? No, no objections. People are glad. I want to thank all 34 people that tuned into this meeting. This was a little bit painful, but I think we did a pretty good job. Without objection, I call the meeting adjourned at 2:30 exactly. Thanks everybody very much.
Thanks, everyone.